That is what the lead counsel is saying, either to accept or to reject. But we know we have done a lot. And yesterday we sat on this. And after we signed this, before this is going back to for printing. So that is what we have here. What you are legitimately saying that you have a different view of maybe something is there, that is fine. There are others too who have other views, the same views or different views. But the Presbyterian one, almost after almost 1 year, everything, some new idea will come. For example, what I read in my welcome address talking about reviewing the retiring age. One of the things that's why it was rejected, or it wasn't rejected, but they say that it means it must go back to the Constitution and go back to the grassroots, and they will see their view and bring it back. Because of that, they left it and said maybe next year or other year times they will look at that. So for now, we have something to work with, and it is up to us to accept it or to go back and be reviewing. So I think I side with the lead lawyer, and that is the stand of the Executive Council when we met.
Thank you, moderator. I must apologize if I sound a bit rather standoffish in my response. We get carried away sometimes when you are confronted with these situations. But the positive about all this is that, as the moderator has said, there are bound to be a whole lot of disagreements with the provisions of this Constitution. So long as it is done by one group of people and others look at it from their perspective, there will be disagreements. Now, if there are, at a certain point, we have to stop and adopt it first. Then, if those disagreements are substantial enough, then as we go along, we amend. I did state here before that when Reverend Anku and I were sent by this church to Ghana Presby to go and study them as to the way they were going about the General Assembly system of governance, what Dr. Dua told us after having taken us through it all, he made a remark and said, look, gentlemen, don't worry that whatever you produce immediately may not be comprehensive enough. Don't worry. Get the principles right. I can assure you that 5 years ago, we started our system, and for every year since then, we have amended our General Assembly Constitution. So go, as time and experience impinges on the situation, you will find where it is necessary to amend, where it is not necessary to amend. I believe, so far, I know he knows he's my big brother. What I see from your quest is to lead to a disagreement with a provision. Now, if you disagree with it, you are free to vote against acceptance. But I would urge that, considering what processes this thing has gone through, at this point, it would not be wise for us to go all over it again, pointing out at this meeting our various disagreements, because a whole lot of people will have their disagreements with it. Let us, and that's our hope, pass it, and then as we analyze it, as we work with it, then we will see whether this provision is workable or whether it is producing a negative effect, for which reason we should amend it. This is my response, and on that note, I would respectfully, on behalf of the moderator, move that we accept this resolution amending the 2010 Constitution by substituting, therefore, the revised version thereof, the 2020 revision. we, on behalf of the General Assembly Executive Council, move accordingly. It's already been seconded, so I believe the stage we are at is to vote whether to accept or not to accept.
Are you all with us here? All right. So we have points. We have the review or revised constitution, and then we have also the manual of order or liturgy, which explains the constitution. These two things are ready, and we have already put it before you and seconded. What is left now is to vote on it, and we need 2/3 majority of all people who are present here to vote, people who are to vote for acceptance. So we will proceed. We are not using a card, so we are just going to raise our hands as to what. And I invite Reverend Jotepe and Reverend Tete to go around and count people who accept the Constitution, the revised Constitution, for to be used in the church. Are you with me? All right. Then, Osofo Jotepe, maybe we have 4 people to take to the lines. Please, all those people who are commissioners, who are eligible to vote, we have space here. Let us have a space between observers and also the commissioners. If you are observer, please leave 1 or 2 benches between observers and commissioners, so that we can know who is voting and who is not. If you are not voting, if you are not a commissioner, please go behind. Don't sit around this, go behind. But if you are a commissioner, you draw forward. All right. How many of you are doing the counting? So these 2 first, these 2 benches first, and then you move on to this one. All in favor of the before we vote, I'm sorry, there is we want to see whether there's any contrary view on this. That also should be moved. We have set our position, the council, the work we have given to the executive council, we have done it, and we have given you our position. If there is any contrary view to the proposal made by the lead lawyer for voting, will you please do it now? All right. If there is no contrary view, we proceed to vote and see to get a 2/3 majority as the Constitution required for acceptance. So we start with the 2 benches here. After you have got the number, then we move to here. Then please raise your hand when you are in favor of the Constitution. Clerk, please come and help me with the number of commissioners and all this, so that we can be able to strike it against
170.
100 and
How many are there here? That's 48.
All right. You finish, please. Go to this area. Oh, let them finish.
1832. And this side. Yes. Let's see by hand.
Let's see by hand from two of the benches here.
I was over there.
The abstentions. We have a total number of 170 present here for commissioners and yeah. So we want to see abstention. Please, those who please before the abstention, let's see those who are against the motion. Against, please. Then before we count the abstention. Hello? Against? No. Abstention? Let's see. Country Broko, country no Broko. The inside.
Five. Yes, it's 5. No, yeah, counting.
5. We have no vote against it, but we have 5 as abstention. But it's still, you haven't add up. We have 170 on rule, and then we have 115 in favor, 0 abstention, and 5 5 abstention, 0 against. Yes.
Moderator, Chairman.
Who are here? Please, we also know that some people left immediately after the election, and therefore we want to know the number of people, yes, who are present right now, who are voting. That is where we are going to get a tutored on. So please, if you are here as a commissioner and then or corresponding member, please, we are going to count all of us in order to get this. There are people who have left because they came from far away, and we said they are going to. So let's see the number of people who are commissioners present here. Please cooperate with us so that we know the number of people who are here. What about these people? Have you counted them? This area, 78 from here. Pardon? 30. We have 133 present right now. 133 present. We have 115 who accepted the Constitution as 0 against and 5 abstention. Yes. So we've got the two-third, 115. The number is 133, and people who voted for it is 115. Yes, two-third over and above the two-third, and therefore we are accepted the Constitution and will sign for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the second leg of this is that this Constitution, as amended, now has to be signed into effect, and we have made provision for it. I'll just read the concluding part. Now, this General Assembly Constitution of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church Ghana 2010-2020 revision is hereby authenticated and brought into effect this 22nd day of August 2020 by the signatures of the standing committee members appearing hereunder. Then there's provision for their signature. So, to bring it into effect today,
I mean, your clerk and I'm da. Figure out. Take that pen.
I thank you most sincerely that
Manual of order.
you have lifted this burden off me.
Manual of order. Bonamago.
I've carried the burden for so long. It's not been easy. But I am grateful that we have now passed it. Now, along with the Constitution, as moderator has said, the 2010 Constitution mandates the church to also produce a manual of order which will contain the rules and regulations of mainly of procedure that will guide the enforcement of the Constitution. So when we came in with the revised Constitution, we also said that it might be wiser to just proceed to do the manual of order so that one doesn't take effect, and then we are looking for interpretations and procedures by which we will implement the clauses and the articles of it. And we were given the mandate, so we proceeded, and we have a product now, the manual of order, including the liturgy. We once again submitted it to the necessary review by those who must review it, and placed it before the General Assembly Executive Council. And when I make this reference, my big brother, I need to say this so that everybody is clear. The introduction of Executive Council in the name of the General Assembly Council was thought to be most essential for a misunderstanding of the status of that body. Experience has shown, and I have personally observed it, that the council somehow seemed to have forgotten its own position in the hierarchy of authority in the church. And it is clear, and it should have been clear all along, that that council is the actual executive arm of the General Assembly. It is that council that executes, that carries out all the decisions of the General Assembly. The General Assembly meets only in these days once in 2 years. It is not on the ground to be enforcing its rules. The General Assembly Council does it. Now, what kind of council is it? So we decided to give it its full and its proper name. And its proper name is that it is the General Assembly Executive Council, the Executive Council of the General Assembly. That is how that name came about. Thank you. Now, the manual of order having gone to the council, the Executive Council. So the Executive Council looked at it and feels satisfied with it. And if I may say so, it is the amended Constitution that mandates this manual of order now, because we have just put into effect the amended Constitution. So the resolution that the General Assembly Executive Council is putting before you for its adoption, and therefore the adoption of the manual of order, reads as follows. Be it resolved, and it is hereby resolved, that 1, pursuant to Article 2 of the General Assembly Constitution of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Ghana, 2010, in brackets 2020 revision, which mandates the enactment of a manual of order, including the liturgy, prescribing the rules of practice and procedure to guide the interpretation and implementation of the provisions of the General Assembly Constitution, the manual of order appearing in the schedule hereto be and is hereby adopted and enacted. 2, the manual of order shall be called the manual of order, including the liturgy. And in the schedule, we have exhibited the body of the manual of order. This resolution is being proposed by the moderator and is seconded by the clerk for and on behalf of the General Assembly Executive Council. Moderator, with your permission, I would now put it before the members of the General Assembly to pass it in order to enact it into effect.
Now you have the second part of the Constitution that we have just, which explain the Constitution, that is the Manual of Order, including the liturgy. Formerly we don't have, now we have one. So it's been put forward for acceptance. We will also vote for it as we did for the Constitution. But before then, I want to ask the same question, whether there is any counter motion against what is on the table. If yes.
Mine is a point of clarification I'm seeking. The learned friend is talking about the council that we normally call General Assembly Council as the executive council of the church, right?
Yes.
And what is now the role of the three people sitting over here in front of us?
Thank you, sir. If you look at the organogram of the church, after the General Assembly comes the General Assembly Executive Council. Under it come two bodies, the Standing Committee and the Board of Trustees of the church. Now, the Standing Committee, their role, one, they have a dual role to play. The Constitution says the moderator is the head of the church. His signature is that of the church. And he supervises the administrative system of the church. That means that the church is run under him. The clerk, the presbyter executive, they all work up to him. But as a body, their second rule is between council meetings to carry out the executive actions, decisions made by the General Assembly, which, because the Executive Council meets now only 4 times in the year, they are not on the ground every day to be carrying out every aspect of, one, the administration of the church, 2, the executive actions that need to be taken urgently between council meetings. Therefore, it is required that whatever action they take in between council meetings, they are to report to the council at the next meeting, which is the tradition. And the council has the power. It sort of fell into abeyance as to whether council should be overriding standing committee decisions. But the reality is that that is the authority the council has, even over the actions and decisions of the standing committee. They have every right to do so, always, because they are the executive arm of the General Assembly, always subject to the final approval by the General Assembly. This is the structure of the church, and I believe I am correct on this because we researched it and we came back with this structure. Thank you, sir.
you have also mandated us to be sitting down. So we are to be standing up. So we have been doing that always.
A standing committee.
Standing committee. So now let's carry on the vote. All in favor of the manual of order. Let's see by show of hands, please. As we have just done. Namere la kaula no domi anwe.